Now, sparring can be a pretty boring thing to watch sometimes, so I just thought to myself I'd comment on my own spars with my friends to give you a bit more insight on the techniques used and the thought processes behind what we were doing, if we weren't just goofing off. The first part of pretty much any spar is to get a feel of your opponent. So you try to figure out how far his reach goes, how far your own reach goes, and maybe how quick or fast his reaction speed is. I am personally a big fan of pretty mindful sparring. That's why this isn't all explosive, like go in, go in, go in. We are for the most part trying to respect the principles of vor, nach, indes, so the three main components of a longsword bout, and that leads to not having so many doubles as it's sadly normal in HEMA. Another thing that we're trying our best to do is not go full force. Aside from you being open for a big counter attack, if you miss your swing, it's just not that nice to get hit by a really hard feder. Every few weeks I try for a different approach of fighting in general. That's because I want to learn different kind of techniques and different tactics of fighting, and it's easier to do that if you focus on doing a single thing or following a single principle. And for this spar I was trying to go for control. So that means my movements are generally a tiny bit slower, but very controlled and very precise in order to do the correct thing at the correct time. Another thing that I really like doing is giving my opponent the possibility of throwing a after blow. If I leave myself open, then he is of course allowed to punish me for it, and that leads to me learning to defend myself better and to get better at Abziehen. What you can also see here is me trying to almost always keep my point pointed at my opponent. That means it's harder for them to pass my sword, and they have to create an opening in order to get at me without being hit themselves. Sometimes people just run into your sword if you present them with a proper long point. It even goes nicely with a fluke if you get down low enough. And going down low in general is a pretty smart thing to do, and it's important to train for it. It means if you're standing upright all day in every match, then you're leaving your opponent with more opportunities to attack you. If you get good at switching your level, you drastically increase the difficulty for your opponent to correctly gauge whether or not they would be able to hit you with a given strike. And it creates new opportunities for you to hit them. And again, you can see how important being patient is. I waited for a strike, parried it, and immediately countered, and therefore got the hit in. And then was able to safely extrude myself from the bout. That's one way to train sparring situations. It leaves you and your training partners a bit more time to think and to go for favorable maneuvers than in a tournament situation. If I would be training for tournaments, I would of course drastically increase the speed and explosiveness of the bouts, but for general training, this leads to more experience gained and to a higher skill ceiling for yourself. What we could see here too was me being really patient. I endured the stress of me knowing that my opponent is about to attack me, and the longer I'm able to endure, the higher the chance is that he will eventually go for a strike and try to hit me or thrust at me. And I could then anticipate that strike and get into a favorable grappling position. A lot of people's most hated topic is hand sniping. I am pretty good at doing this myself, and therefore I'm a bit salty if someone does it to me. And my friend here did it perfectly and hit me. And then I told him to not hand snipe the hand sniper and immediately schooled him in the next exchange, and therefore presented him with a big long finger. I hope you enjoyed this episode of non-boring HEMA sparring, and I hope it wasn't boring for you. If you liked it, then hit the subscribe button, like the video, and please leave a few comments. Discuss your own philosophy and approach to sparring. If you have different ideas, you are free to critique our technique. Just be respectful, please. We're all practitioners of the same martial art. And of course, I hope to see you again in my next video. I have been Ragnar from Frason Fencing. Ciao!